Hello, today we will recap an action-adventure movie, in which an ordinary man starts a journey to save humanity. Spoilers ahead, watch out and enjoy. The film begins with a scene of arid and barren land, where food and drink are rare. Someone is waiting for game animals to eat in a forest. The man appeared to be armed with an arrow. Soon after, a cat appeared, and the hunter shot the arrow. The earth has become corrupted, and has become an uninhabited place, where many people choose to end their lives. However, in one place, a man named Eli was traveling to find a place in the west. Eli comes across a rundown car, while walking through a barren landscape. He searches for something useful, but all that remains is the driver's skeleton. On his journey, he often saw people robbing others for food. One morning, Eli meets a broken and traumatized woman. She asks him for help, but he knows better. He yells for the hijackers to come out, and they appear, knocking down their hiding spots in the process. They demand his belongings, clearly indicating their intention to use violence. With his sword, he fought and killed them easily. Meanwhile, Eli's music player was out of battery. When he arrived in a town, he charged it by exchanging items he owned for payment. Not only that, but he also changed his clothes to get a bottle of drink in a bar. A thug sitting at the bar was enraged at Eli for bothering his cat. He came up to him and approached him. Eli initially refused to interact with the thug, but he became emotional, and smashed the thug's face on the table until it bled. He reminded him that robbing and killing travelers was his responsibility. The thug's men surrounded Eli, who appeared to be calm. Eli quickly took them out after drawing the sword. A barkeeper girl abruptly stopped him, and shortly after, a man named Redridge entered and pointed a gun at him. Eli was then led into a room to meet Carnegie, the city's ruthless ruler. Carnegie enjoyed reading, so he instructed the thugs to rob him, and look for the book he desired. He was impressed by Eli's fighting abilities and intelligence, and invited him to join his organization. He promised Eli various luxuries such as food, drink, shelter, and even women if he joined. However, Eli was uninterested in any of this, because he planned to continue his journey west. Nonetheless, Eli accepted Carnegie's offer to spend the night at his house, to avoid causing a scene. Claudia, a woman serving Carnegie, came in after Eli entered the room to bring him food and drink. Despite her blindness, Claudia could tell Eli was intelligent, and did not blindly obey others' orders. The woman informs the boss that Eli is different, and will not follow him like others. The boss disagrees and decides to send Solara to Eli's room, even though the woman begs him not to. Solara comes in, wearing a revealing nightgown. She tries to make advances, but Eli respectfully declines. Eli knew her intentions, and immediately asked her to leave the room. However, she begged him to keep staying in the room until morning. She begs him not to send her outside, because the boss will harm her mother, who is blind. She offers to sleep on the floor, and tells Eli to lie to Carnegie, by stating that they slept together. Carnegie would kill her, if he discovered she had left Eli's room that night. Finally, Eli let her stay in the room. Eli tells her about a prosperous human life 30 years ago, before the earth was destroyed in the way it is today. Solara noticed a book with the sign of the cross, while Eli was telling the story. Eli became aware of this and immediately placed the book in his bag. Eli soon attempted to break the ice, by inviting her to dine with him and pray before eating. The next day, Solara was praying before breakfast with Claudia, who had been taught by Eli. Carnegie was taken aback by what she had done. He tortured her mother, so she would tell him the prayer sentence she had said earlier. Finally, she told the story of an old book with a cross belonging to Eli. Carnegie had been looking for this book for a long time. Eli left Carnegie's house, and went to a store to get a battery-charged music player, before continuing his journey. Carnegie's men, on the other hand, had been waiting for him in front of the store. Carnegie politely requested the book. He stated that he wished for the book to be widely distributed, in order to restore everyone's faith in God. Eli, on the other hand, refused, because he had yet to find the best place to leave the book. Carnegie became agitated, and eventually decided to take the book by force. He challenged Eli to a gunfight. After obtaining a weapon, Eli immediately shot a sniper from the top of the building, killing the majority of Carnegie's men. After paralyzing Carnegie and his men, Eli left the city to continue his journey. Solara unexpectedly followed Eli, and asked him if she could accompany him. She convinced Eli that Claudia had granted her permission. She wished for Solara to be free of Carnegie. Despite the fact that she had assisted him in finding a spring in the city, Eli stood firm and refused to let Solara follow him. He warned her that the journey would be dangerous, because robbers and cannibals could attack them. Meanwhile, Carnegie was receiving treatment at his home. He was among the first to figure out why the world went into chaos 30 years ago. As a result, he planned to mobilize all of his men to seize the book from Eli. Carnegie intended to build a new city, and use the book to control everyone. Redridge, who was always obedient to Carnegie's orders, was finally told to go get the book. He asked Solara in return for what he deserved. Solara, who was traveling alone, was looking for Eli. Solara was framed one day by two bad guys, who tried to capture and harass her. When she was cornered and tried to flee, Eli heard her screams, and killed the two men with arrows. Because it was getting dark, Eli and Solara took a break in the ruins of a building. Solara noticed Eli reading the book, and inquired about the contents of the book Carnegie desired. Then Eli recited some of the book's verses, about God's guidance and protection. He explained that the book was the only one left. Many people sought out and destroyed the book after the Great War. It was thought to be the starting point for the war. Following the outbreak of the war in the last 30 years, surviving humans, including Eli, began to wander. Eli heard a voice one day that led him to the book. The voice also instructed him to transport the book to a location in the west. Eli set out confidently for the western region, without a compass or map. On his journey, he felt like he was always protected from various dangers. Eli and Solara continued their journey the next day. They arrived in the desert, with the intention of staying in a house there. As Eli attempted to open the house door, he and Solara fell into a trap hole. Soon after, an elderly married couple approached them and pointed a gun at them. Following Eli's explanation, the elderly couple George and Martha welcomed Eli and Solara, and served them food and drinks. Martha explained that George had set up all of the traps in his house to catch the bad guys. As Eli and Solara looked back at the house filled with graves, Eli realized the couple had killed and eaten their victims. As a result, Eli and Solara attempted to flee the house. When George began arresting them, Eli was pointing his gun. As Eli and Solara were about to leave, several cars from Carnegie's entourage appeared. When George noticed a group of people approaching his house, he finally assisted Eli, and gave him some weapons hidden beneath the couch. When Carnegie got to the front of the house, he threatened Eli, and soon after, a bomb was thrown from the house, and the battle began. Carnegie shot a bullet through George and Martha's house, killing them. After Carnegie threatened to kill Solara, Eli and Solara surrendered, and were forced to hand over his book with a cross-sign mark. After obtaining the book, Carnegie shot Eli, to demonstrate that he was a regular person who would eventually die. He then left with the book and Solara. Eli, who had been shot, was left alone. Solara, who was tied up in the car, suddenly strangled the driver to death with a rope, causing the car to crash and killing Redridge. She took the grenade, and attempted to kill Carnegie by throwing it at his car. The car driver quickly avoided the grenade, which blew up another car. Carnegie escaped the blast, and Solara took advantage of the opportunity to flee, by stealing one of Carnegie's cars. Solara returned to George and Martha's ruined house in a car. She continued west after she did not find Eli. On the way, she ran into Eli, and asked him to join her in the car. After some time on the road, Eli and Solara arrived at a coastal area. They had to cross by boat, to get to Eli's destination on Alcatraz Island. Some people were conducting very strict guarding upon arrival on the island. As it turns out, Alcatraz Island is a bookshop, with valuable books to rebuild human civilization. The only book that was missing was Eli's cross-picture book. Eli and Solara also met a librarian, and informed him of their intention to give the book. Unfortunately, Carnegie now took the book. Meanwhile, Carnegie arrived home safely. He requested that a mechanic unlock the locked book. Carnegie looked surprised after the book was successfully opened, because he did not understand the Braille-written contents. As a result, he asked the blind Claudia to read the book to him. Claudia, unfortunately, had not read in a long time, and had forgotten how to read Braille. Carnegie was devastated, because he had spent all of his money to obtain the book. His power in the city was quickly stripped away. In fact, the local population revolted and looted all of his belongings. Carnegie, who had lost all strength, appeared resigned to what was happening to him. Eli revealed on Alcatraz Island that he had memorized the entire contents of the book. Even though he appeared weak, Eli told the librarian the entire contents of the book a few days later. He accomplished this while lying on a couch. Solara is seen at Eli's grave in the final scene. The librarian then approached her, and requested that she settle on Alcatraz Island. Solara, on the other hand, declined, because she planned to travel to her hometown in the eastern region. Solara takes Eli's sword with her on her journey. So this was the story of the film The Book of Eli, released in 2010. If you like the story, then do watch the full film, and if you want to watch more such amazing recaps, then do subscribe to our channel. See you in the next recap.